Hi, everyone. I wanted to take a few minutes before we meet tomorrow to talk through the short paper assignment for next week so that we don't have to take time in our Microsoft Teams meeting tomorrow to do that. We are playing Fashion Week here at home this week, so I'm a little more fancy than I usually am on a Sunday morning, but it's fun. Gotta have something fun to do. So I'm going to have us look at this assignment in the syllabus. And I just want to remind everyone of the purposes of this short paper and presentation and talk through some things to think about for next week. So I'm not going to read the introduction and rationale again, but what I would recommend you take a look at it. The basic gist of this assignment is that ideas for scholarship are shaped through conversation, and to have moments like at conferences and roundtable conversations where you can present your ideas at work and receive like a conversational constructive criticism about those ideas taking shape are really important. It's really easy to get total tunnel vision about a topic, and then you might find, and I'm sure you've experienced this just chatting with people in your classes, that somebody else can say something, or you can read a different text and go, wait a minute, this helps me think about it in a whole new way. So what I'm asking you to do for next week is develop a 2-page double-spaced paper about the topic you're writing about. And I proposed a lot of different ways that you might pursue that. So let's just take a look at those. Reminder that I don't expect you to reference all of your sources in the paper. You're not expected to talk about the entire project in this 2 pages. But here are some ways to pursue that. So you might look specifically at how one source or a couple of sources synthesized together speak meaningfully to one of the course topics that we're looking at. You might talk about a text that problematizes something that we've discussed in class or you think needs to be read differently, especially in relationship to your seminar paper topic. You might just, if you've got the longer working draft, just take a chunk of that draft and get some conversational feedback on it. Give us a little context for where that fits in your paper in that 2-page write-up. You could give us an abstract of the whole paper. That would be fine. And then I note here that you might have another way of pursuing the 2-page paper. And I could imagine things like maybe you want to present how your idea for that paper has changed over the last 3 or 4 weeks that we've been apart from each other. And, you know, things have changed quite a bit in our experience. You might want to talk about a place where you're having a lot of trouble with the paper and you really need to get some feedback. So think about what's going to be most productive for you, or even if it's not a place that you're having trouble with, maybe a place that in the paper that you feel really good about, but you want to see how it plays on our classroom audience. So I'm asking you to, I'll ask you to post your paper to the discussion board so that, excuse me, so that everybody can look at it ahead of time, and if they have time or if they want to, and or if they need to reference it like while we're talking. And then I'll ask you just to read from your paper during the presentation when we're in our Microsoft Teams meeting. I will still, I think, work to create groups so that, let's say 3 of you have topics that are kind of related to each other. I want to be able to kind of group those and then let us have a few minutes of conversation. So we'd have 15 minutes of presentations and then 5 minutes of conversation. 15 minutes of presentations, 5 minutes of conversation. So that will be going about 90 minutes with 12 of you. And I will keep time so that we can make that work. I do ask you just to introduce yourself by name in case somebody in class forgets your name, or just so that if they're just listening and not watching because you might have a lot of stuff up on your screen. They can hear who's talking. And read the title or state the topic of your paper, and then read your paper. And we can figure out whether clapping is nice or if it's weird when we are on a Microsoft Teams meeting, but it might still be nice to hear that noise. So I guess I want to tell you also to be ready to jot down notes about your paper during the class session so you can apply feedback to your seminar paper. I hope this is a really generative conversation and just moment to like touch base with each other and think really informally about this. You don't have to play Fashion Week when we do our presentations. Pajamas as clothes are great, but don't worry about this is not formal. This is conversational, but it should be generative. So here I have submit the paper by 11:59 p.m. that night, but I'm going to ask that you please, the E on my keyboard broke this week, so that's cool. Please post before class so that we can reference it. Okay, so email me if you've got questions or you want to talk through something, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow when Clay comes to visit, and also to seeing you again next week before we work on wrapping up the semester.